It feels like we're living in a little bit of a hellish place right now here in Portland, Oregon. No, not because of the city, but because of the local team. Blazers are in a weird spot.
Yeah.
I heard Jake Fisher on the Heat Check podcast say Portland views themselves like the Houston Rockets, that they're better than people think, and instead of going and signing a Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, they've got them, and Malcolm Brogdon and Jeremy Grant. That was what Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports said.
So this is sources internal to the Trailblazers that he's...
That's what he is
indicating.
Yeah, it's what it kind of feels
like. As opposed to the general fan base.
I want to add on that, by the way, if that is indeed accurate. And Jake Fisher's, I think, proven a pretty good track record. I'm trying to get him on the show this week. We'll see if it happens. The schedule's crazy. I'd like to point out that Houston is not even in the play-in.
No.
Houston is...
They've won a few more games than the Blazers, but they're...
8 more.
Yeah.
They're a game out of the play-in. They're 11th. They're not even top 10.
They are ahead of the Warriors.
Yep. At least the Warriors have won titles. It doesn't feel, and maybe Woj breaks this news in an hour or on Thursday or Wednesday, but it doesn't feel like Swag, they're moving pieces, or maybe they're turning the noise up to make teams feel more antsy. But I've been listening to a lot of national podcasts on this topic, and a lot of the stuff is, hey, the teams that need a player, they're sitting in positions where right now they got 1 pick. If they wait till July, they got 3. So are you going to take on a contract? Malcolm, by the way, is going to have to get an extension if you pick him up. Jeremy's on a $160 million deal?
Yeah, he got his big extension.
Not every team has the finances to kind of wiggle that in. So the teams that you would look at as possible fits for a trade, they're sitting in a, do we make this move now or do we wait, evaluate the cap, and then we've got more picks coming in the summer? And I think that's why the deadline's been such a non-buzz, is because teams are stuck, not quite good enough. There might not be a move that moves the needle enough to win a title. Like DeMar DeRozan. He's a good example. That's a player that I think is good. Could work on a team that needs to win. Does it do enough to go win a title? Well, now you take on the salary. What did you trade to get him? It's just a lot to weigh in. And Portland has made it known through local and national pundits, we're not really interested in moving Jeremy Grant at all, and we're not really interested in moving Malcolm Brogdon. So here we are in the first year post-Dame, even though you can certainly say they've been sucking for 3 years, and that's not inaccurate. Let's call it year 1, just for argument's sake, post-Dame. Now you have said, all right, maybe we're not so bad. And the moment you have veterans that can contribute and want to be here, you're in kind of a weird no man's land of, are we going to turn the roster over to the youth, or are we going to try to patchwork this thing together to win at a more competitive nature? I think what they're learning at One Center Court, not that they're learning, they've been here for so long, that front office and the ownership group, this city doesn't want to suck.
No, it has a hard time being god-awful for very long.
And I've been saying this for 3 years. It's why I still kind of get upset that we just overlook the comment of, you'll almost question how much we put our chips all in. They lied to us. They misled us and lied to us. Now, did it reach a point? Yeah, it did. And they made the move. That's their choice. And that's okay. I don't think they would have necessarily won with Dame, but a swing is something I was pulling for. Well, now they've Scoot, and you have Ant, but you also have Malcolm and D.A., who's got a lot of experience despite his age, and Jeremy, who's got a lot of experience. They got this kind of weird mix of experience, but like the youth movement is going. And now the trade market doesn't appear, or at least right now as we sit, doesn't appear to be a very big active one unless a team gets desperate. Maybe that's the Lakers with the hourglass emoji. The point is, it feels like they're already pivoting out of this baby Blazer thing in a way and saying, well, how can we build it up to be maybe be in the play-in next year? And look, there's a podcast on this. I was screaming this months ago. The Western Conference is open. It's not a good Western Conference. The Warriors are down. The Suns are iffy. The Pelicans are kind of iffy. The Mavericks are weird. The Lakers are old. The Jazz are kind of iffy. Like, when you go through the West, you trust Oklahoma City. I think so far you got to give Minnesota their benefit. They're not going to win the title, but let's give them some credit.
The Clippers, it's all about health.
The Clippers is about health, and
when they
they're
got all four of those
surging.
guys, they figured out how to play together. It's pretty scary.
They got tested last night in Atlanta in a high-scoring affair, and they came through clutch, including Kawhi. And I'm going to ask Ken Barkley, by the way, on Thursday, one little, hey, you rethinking that Kawhi MVP thing? Because guess what? It's getting louder.
Yeah.
And then the Denver Nuggets are still the Denver Nuggets. Sacramento's kind of weird. Houston, I don't know. Like, you look at the landscape, it's not like you can't compete. And so I've been saying for months, you pivot out. I know it's not easy, but like, you can win if you make the right moves. I think they're going to continue to play it the way they are. But it's just fascinating watching it locally where the noise is they're not really interested in moving things the way that we all thought they were going to be once they traded Dame. That they're just okay kind of keeping this as is. And this as is just very... I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, I think they thought the market might be a little better than it is.
Also, the draft is becoming increasingly worse, it seems, by the day than it is getting better. And I think that changes the math a little bit. Because if 24 is so bad, 25, that's the Cooper Flag draft is what it's known as. There's going to be even more players in that draft, and it's going to make 25 seem so much better than 24. But then, like, how many teams are going to willingly give up that, you know? It's just interesting watching the team building happening. You're seeing growth from guys during the season, but you're seeing still a bad team, but a bad team not willing to part because, well, they're not getting the assets they want. And I'm not saying go get the assets for the sake of getting the assets. I'm just finding all of this very interesting of the way they're building it, the patience they're showing, but also maybe this like wedge of youth and yet vets that can help them win, because that's what they have right now. Ant, D.A., Malcolm, and Jeremy. Those are four really good players that, if built and having other pieces around them, they're at least competing in this landscape. I know that they're competing with the Jazz. They're competing with this weird Mavericks team. They're at least that level. They're probably at the Rocket level. They're within a game and a half. But we'll see how they do it. Because I can tell you right now, it ain't Scoot and Ant. That ain't the duo I want to see. Shaden's been hurt, so we haven't been able to watch him the last few weeks. And hopefully he comes back soon. But the landscape right now in the league is not very hot on the trade deadline. And neither is Portland, according to national pundits and even locally. We've been talking about this now for a couple days of maybe they're not moving those pieces yet. They're staying patient. They're evaluating. And it may prove to be the right idea. But also, if you view yourself as a team that can make a leap next year instead of sucking again, well, how is that? I'm curious to see how that math works of team building and trades and movement and who is playing with who. It's certainly not boring. I mean, it's boring in the sense that they're not winning games, but it's certainly not boring in the way of watching it unfold in front of our eyes, the team building concept right now here in Portland, Oregon, USA.